everybody. It's a live class. Oh my God, I haven't had a live class in over 1.5 years, and I'm with my JCC family back in New York City. So we're really excited to do a class together, and we're going to join in if you guys are watching, and I hope you guys enjoy a real live mel class. Thanks guys for being part of it. Yay! Okay, so go on to your spots. I know all of you guys know mel's a self-care technique, help you rehydrate connective tissue, and help your nervous system regain some stability and balance, because most of the time our body is working in a dysfunctional way and we don't know that that's happening until we have pain in our body. Then we're trying to be reactive, we're trying to get out of something instead of being proactive to just eliminate some of the chronic imbalances that we have. So we're going to rehydrate your body, and we're going to start from the footing, because really your ground reaction force, the way that you move, it's all based on your footing. And so if you don't have a good open channel from your feet up, it kind of wrecks everything else. That makes sense, right? So when I do the assessments, just like a manual therapist, we assess, we treat, we reassess. So I like doing my assessments on the hardwood floor. You're welcome to do it on your mat, but I always think it's kind of one of these things where I look at one of the lines on the floor and I try to like line my knuckles up against one of the lines, and I look down at my feet. I convince myself my feet are hip width apart. They're both pointed perfectly straight ahead. And what we're going to do is evaluate how accumulative stress is altering your fine balance. So if you have the balls in your hands, set the balls and everything on the ground, nothing in your hands. Put your arms at your side. Close your eyes, and just for a moment, first thank your body for showing up today. Take a breath in and a breath out. And just begin to give yourself permission. Go into your body, sense what you feel starting at your footprints, and just notice if your footprints feel offset from left to right, or if you're actually distinctively aware of one region of your footing feeling more pronounced into the ground. Don't try to change anything, just try to remember what you feel right now. Scan up your legs. If I say, hey, relax your thighs and your butt cheeks, stop locking out your knees. If you relax some of those big muscle movers, here's the thing, we're not moving, so why are they contracted? If you haven't fallen over, you're seeing inefficiency, okay? So just notice if you were tense. And then the third thing is draw your attention down your legs, okay? We took the moment to put our legs side by side. The question is, do your thighs feel side by side? Or do you almost swear one thigh is kind of rotated in front of the other, or your feet feel like they're almost stepping one in front of the other? Just notice if there's anything weird about the stance. And then finally, very slowly lift your toes off the ground. And we're going to challenge what we call the autopilot to see how quickly it can maintain the balance of your masses over your spaces, your head, ribs, and pelvis over that small base of support. So you just keep your eyes closed for about 10 seconds with your toes lifted. Let your nervous system react and adjust. And then take a breath in. And on an exhale, drop your toes. And just notice if your body sways forward, and then open up your eyes. And just remember, if your body sways forward, it's not a crisis, it's just how your nervous system manages the balance. If you have something that's a little bit out of balance in your hips, you just sort of feel your body adjust and sway. We're gonna see if we can minimize it. You're gonna take your large soft ball. I'm gonna have you guys start on your right foot. I'm gonna mirror you, I'm gonna do it on my left foot, just so that I'm kind of mimicking your image. So you're gonna put your left foot about 1.5 feet away from the ball. You're going to take your right forefoot just in front of the ball. You're going to tickle the center of your foot. Make sure that you are feeling the center of your right foot, the ball's right under it. And really think, the absolute dead smack center of my foot, what am I going to perceive that as being? Nice and slowly, I'm going to let my heel start to settle to the ground. And I'm going to keep my forefoot on the ground. And just like a cat, I'm going to let my heel kind of come up off the ground and then compress back down. And I'm just going to shift 5 to 10 times back and forth. And I'm going to try to find tolerable compression on the center of my foot, right? So center of the foot's all related to the diaphragm. So as I breathe in and out, I'm helping my nervous system reconnect the center of my foot to my diaphragm. I'm going to go ahead and find my center position, help my autopilot find my center of gravity by movement. So if you move your joints around, it does not matter how you move. You can wiggle your fingers, doesn't need to be big. Just try to figure out how to move all of your joints for about 10 seconds. Help your brain figure out where those are at. Come on back up top. Take your left foot, step backward, and just slide the ball back about 1 inch in your foot. So it's just in front of your heel now. Soften your knee, compress the ball. Notice if that's a tender spot. That one relates to your pelvis. Just notice what you feel. And then decompress, and try it one more time. Soften your knee and compress. Okay, so now just take half your body weight off. So you have a 50-50 split, both knees are soft. Keep your forefoot on the right foot on the ground, and very slowly start to take your heel left to right. behind the ball. And if you want, I almost sometimes think like I'm going over a rainbow first. So I kind of think of the arc of the ball, I'm just in front of my heel, and then I try to flatten out the ball and keep my pressure constant. So you guys who are kind of new to melt, there's 3 compression techniques: gliding, shearing, and rinsing. So keep your toes down. So it's not the dance twitch, the mashed potato, it's the twist. So your toes are down and your heel swaggering. Yeah? And once you get your pressure constant, you figure out how to move your ball back and forth, you let the ball zigzag to the back of your heel, and then you work your way back. So gliding is a preparatory technique. It prepares the sensory nerves and the tissue without going too deep too fast. You do that for about 10-15 seconds. You bring the ball back to that point just in front of your heel, compress it a little more firmly, and then without the ball really moving, shift your foot back and forth. That's called the shear. So now you're pinning the skin and you're dragging it on the underlying plane. That's what creates a fluid exchange from cell to cell. And so we do that again for about 10 seconds. And then think of it like working fluid into a sponge, and then just compress and wait. Give it a second to adapt. And then you're going to try to create a global exchange called a rinse. You're going to bring the ball to the knuckle of your big toe, find pressure, and whatever the pressure is that you have at the knuckle of your big toe, try to keep it, push the ball down your foot, and when I get to the end, I kind of catch myself, I step forward. I go to my second knuckle, I push it. Whatever that pressure is, I try to keep it, I run it down my foot. I go to my third knuckle, I soften, I push. Yeah, I go to my fourth knuckle, I push it, I keep that pressure constant, I rinse. I go to my fifth knuckle, I push, and I rinse. I want you to do it 3 more times under your foot at your own pace. You push once, you push twice, and then 3 times. Last technique, this is only done on the hands and feet, it's called friction. See if you can really lightly balance your body and really, really lightly rub just the skin surface. So it's going to stimulate your lymph. So the lymphatic flow is part of your immune system. You're driving the fluid flow from fascia to lymph, helps to support immunity. Always a good thing in this climate, right? Take a breath in, and then let it go. Okay, shake out your legs. Put your body back onto the hardwood floor where we started to do the assessment. Put your feet side by side, and just take a quick check-in, okay? So put your arms at your side. Close your eyes for a second. Now, you might notice that your footprints feels different, and I appreciate that. It's because you're rubbing your foot with a ball, so you're going to increase sensory reception. But draw your attention through your leg. Okay, when joints are absent of fluid, oftentimes we can feel the segmentation of the leg. So notice the leg you haven't melted. Just key into your left leg. You might actually notice that you can kind of feel where your thigh, your knee, your ankle is. But on the other leg, ideally it feels more integrated and rooted into the floor. Open your eyes. Do you guys gain a sense of it? So that's a neural change, right? So another thing you can do is just hang forward. Notice the pull on the back of your leg. Some of you guys might feel the pull should still be there, only the tension ideally is more seamless on a hydrated leg than a dehydrated leg. You might feel like you're hanging off the tendons of your joints. And then round your body back up. Can you guys actually feel the pull change in the back of your leg just doing mini? So it's great if you can feel that. Again, it kind of shows a hydrated body. If you don't make a change right away, it's not a crisis. It just means you're going to do it a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to just repeat the same technique on the other side. So your right foot about 1.5 feet away from the ball. You bring your forefoot in front of the ball, and you try to, so I always feel like I'm on a stiletto heel when I do this, right? Because that's going to get me pretty precise to the center of my foot. I tickle it. I know where the center of my foot is. And then again, I shift back and forth. And something I always say, if you melt frequently, if you oftentimes start with your right foot, sometimes start with the left, especially if you notice that one foot is more tender than the other, because it just might be that your nervous system is more awake after you work on one foot. But if you do have restrictions most often on one side, I would be thinking there's something going on in the hip on that same side, okay? So same thing, you're going to find your compression spot that you can maintain your pressure. It doesn't need to be 50%, it could be less, but you're going to move your joints around. So your nervous system kind of works like a GPS system. That's what we call your autopilot. And it uses body sense to figure out where your joints are in relationship to gravity. So if you move your joints around for about 10 seconds, it helps that part of your nervous system find balance. Come on back up top. Take your right foot, slide it back. So again, you're just going to bring the ball just a little bit further back into your foot, soften your knee and compress. So this is also part of that neural core. One's to the diaphragm, one's to the pelvis. And you do it twice. You just kind of compress and pause. And then you take half your body weight off, right? Keep your pressure relatively constant, and you go for the glide. So this is the same language we're going to use with the roller in a little bit. So gliding, again, prepare and explore. So the secret of a glide is consistent pressure in a small local region, which is easy in your foot because your foot's small and local, right? I start in front of my heel until I get the pressure constant. And then once I think I have it constant, then I go all the way over my heel, all the way to the back of my heel. And with the softball, you could even do that twice. You could go all the way to the back of your heel, go back to that point just in front. I just think of it like putting butter on bread. And then I bring that ball back to that point just in front of my heel. Again, I compress, so I keep my knee soft. And then I try to actually keep the ball pinned between my skin and the bone layer. So I'm actually dragging the underlying plane of fascia to the bone layer. And same thing, you do these techniques for like 10 seconds. It's not a big deal. And then same thing, compress and wait. Okay, so now the rinse, it's a consistent pressure, but again, one direction. So you push the knuckle of your big toe, you push it down your foot, you kind of step over the ball. You go to your second knuckle, you push it, you rinse it down. You go to your third knuckle, you push it, you rinse it. You try to find your fourth knuckle, you push it, and you rinse. And if you really want to get kind of crazy about this, can you try to spread out your toes and do 3 more? So really think about opening my toes and try to really push the fluid flow around the tendinous structures at the bottom of your foot, especially if you guys have like knee or hip pain. 1 more. Okay, last technique was friction. So after you treat both feet, your best bet is to actually stimulate lymph flow on both sides. And it's also a good way to kind of notice what you do from left to right. So here's that little motion. Swap sides, balance, move the ball. Okay, you might find on one side your leg works wonderfully, and then on the other side you kind of, nothing's working, right? It kind of is different. So just notice that, like that coordinated issue is also partly fascial related, can actually alter our neurological control and connection to either side of the body. Okay, so get rid of the ball. Again, let's go back to the firm surface of the floor. Look at your feet. Go ahead and close your eyes again. Nice breath in. And again, let's just go back and just see what changes do you feel, because if you have pain, the way to get out of pain is to actually sense change in the body. It's the first step in it. So notice if your footprints feel more balanced from left to right. If you kind of noticed a region of your foot or something felt off from left to right, scan up your legs. Notice if you're not so clenchy in the big muscle movers. Notice if your body's more relaxed in your natural stance. Draw your awareness down your legs. If you started off kind of feeling like one leg was staggered or rotated in or out, notice if the presentation of your legs is more balanced. And then try again to lift all 10 toes off the ground. You might find that your head shifts back much faster, but that's because that's actually where your upright posture ideally is. You just have to learn to get yourself there, cheekbones over collarbones. And then you take a breath in, and on an exhale, drop your toes. And notice if that decreased some of the sway that you had when you started. Open up your eyes. How do you guys feel with the change? You've noticed it? Okay. And then once you've put the ball away, go ahead and lie on your back, palms faced up, arms and legs extended. There we go. Thank you, guys. Now, when you lie on your back, if you feel like your head really hyperextends or anything and you need a towel, you just let me know. I'm happy to grab one for you. You guys all look pretty decent there. Yep, just lie flat on your back. But again, when you lie down, if it's like crazy uncomfortable, that's your assessment, is how long can I lie on my back and rest still, right? If I can't rest in my body, something's wrong, right? That's what we want to kind of notice, all right? So just like we did in the standing assessment, we're going to do a supine assessment. So palms faced up, arms and legs extended. And I want you to, again, use your body sense. So instead of fidgeting, adjusting, or looking up at your body, just give yourself permission. Start to notice the masses of your body on the ground, spaces of your body off the floor, all right? In your upper body, stuck stress, this accumulative stress and connective tissue loves to live in the shoulder girdle. And if it's there, it's going to displace what you feel in the upper body. So ideally, your head feels like it's weighted at the bridge of your nose. Your arms are evenly weighted to the sides. And ideally, the most weight of your torso is in the ribs below the shoulder blade. Women call it the bra line. Ideally, that's where it's most weighted. But if you take a nice focused breath into your body, breathing in, notice how your body expands. Breathing out, notice how your body relaxes. You might notice that your head feels more tipped to one ear, to one shoulder. Maybe one arm has more weight. Or you might actually notice that the edges of your shoulder blades are really pronounced into the ground. So just make a note if you're feeling any of those things. You could also take a moment and use a movement assessment. You could turn your head left to right. And if you feel like you have limited range to either side or pain to turn your head, or you feel like your shoulder follows your head turn, I would call all those accumulative stress in the shoulder girdle. It just limits your range of motion, all right? So make a mental note which ones you had there. And then take another breath in consciously and start to notice the shape and size of your low back space. Ideally, the low back curve is from the navel to the top of the hips. If you want, you could put a finger in your belly button. And just in your mind, does the arch of your back feel more tense and lifted above the level of the belly button or below. Just notice what you feel, and then get rid of your finger in your belly button. And then start to notice the lower body masses and spaces. Third area accumulative stress really likes to accumulate is in the pelvis. It displaces the lower body masses when it's there. If you feel like you're lying on 2 evenly weighted butt cheeks, that would be ideal. If you feel like you're lying on your tailbone, that's stuck stress. So notice if that tailbone's pronounced to the ground. Back of thigh masses, back of thigh calves, both of those two are masses. If they feel lifted off the ground, the back of your thighs, or your calf mass feels unevenly weighted, just key into that. And then kind of gain a sense of where your footing is. Ideally, your feet angle out like a letter V. Notice if your toes feel more like they're pointed away from your ankles, or your feet feel pointed to the sides of the room, or some lopsided way from left to right. Okay? So just trying to remember what you feel down there. So all of the accumulative stress in your body, it can alter what we call autopilot efficiency. So your nervous system's ability to find your center of gravity. Divide yourself into a left and a right half. Just scan your body with your body sense. Ear to heel, right side, ear to heel, left side. If it feels to you like one entire side of your body is more weighted or one leg feels longer than the other, just make a mental note of that. I'm curious. Raise your hand if you guys are feeling that in particular. I'm just serious. Okay, so just remember that one. So now commit these 4 to memory. You guys know this, who have done this a million times with Melt. 4 common imbalances. If you lie on your back and all your back weight feels propped on your shoulder blades, your mid-back feels tense and lifted above the belly button, your tailbone is very pronounced to the ground, or the back of the thighs are off the floor, those are all signs of neural core inefficiency, and that's what we actually want to try to remedy as we go through the session today. You guys got an idea of where you are for your assessment? Yes? Okay, so roll on your side, come on up to sitting. And let's actually start, because you guys have been doing this a while. Pretty much everybody in here has done a little bit of this. So I'm going to have you guys start with a level 2 move, which is called seated compression. So we're going to go ahead and sit up onto the top of the roller. I'm going to come over near you. Okay, so we're going to sit up here. So hands are going to be in front of your body. And if you can, keep your feet on the floor, keep your torso leaning forward, and just try to roll over your sit bones. So ideally, your sit bones roll over evenly. You might find that one kind of thunks over before the other. Just notice that. Some of us have a rotated pelvis. And from here, we're going to go into what's called our tail triangle. So instead of being on the sit bones, take your right hand, put it behind your roller so that your thumb points towards the roller. Once you're there, tuck your pelvis, let the pelvis or the roller start to roll up your hips a little bit, and then drop your left hand behind you. Okay, so elbows are nice and soft, fingers pointed to the side. I want you to really feel like you're leaning back. Look at how far back my body is, and my butt is on the front side of the roller. I'm no longer on my butt. Yeah, come this way on the roller. Keep going, keep going, keep going. That's where I want you to be. Yeah? So now once you're there, feel like you're going to slide your butt off the roller toward the floor, like as if you were going to go to sit down and then push your way back up, right? Roll down and push your way back up. Now once you get the hang of the movement, think about keeping your pubic bone curled towards your nose. Don't let your back arch as you go. Try to keep your back kind of in a rounded position. All right? So this is just a basic glide, preparing and exploring. Okay? If you put your feet together and you angle your knees a little off to one side, that's your SI joint. Notice if it's tender, check your arms. Arms are light, right? Your core is actually working for you. And then evaluate the other side. Glide over here and just notice again any tenderness. Some of us are going to find one side's more tender than the other, okay? So let's go on to our side hip. You're going to come down onto your forearm. You're going to tip your body over to the side. So now I'm not on my sacrum anymore. So my pelvis is way up here, my sacrum's way up here. So now if I start to glide, I'm on what we call the side hip. And we're going to explore the whole side of our hip. And we're going to do this in multiple positions. Okay, so my knees are together right now. This is one way to do a glide. And I'm closer to my hip bone. So if you lean forward, you're going to find it. And it might be really nasty there. Okay? You could also clam your top leg up, and you could kind of angle your body and look more upward, and now you're going to be closer to your tail. Do you see how like big the side of your body is, right? I could also drop this leg down, and I could completely relax the muscles, and it'll go a little deeper. It won't feel any better, but it'll get a little more done, right? So if anybody find a tender spot? Okay, so right, and the whole thing's tender, Sue. Now, find one spot and don't land right on it. Kind of push up against it. Don't go right to the most tender spot. Once you're there, put your feet together and try to clam the leg in and out. So this is called a shear. So we did one type of shear on the foot. This is called an indirect shear. I'm contracting muscle against the interface I'm compressing. I could also straighten out my leg. I could roll my body over the roller. So if the roller stays still and I move my body, there's my shear. Or, this is a little more technical, put your hand down to the ground, pin your skin, and try to drag your flesh forward and back over the roller. So I'm not rubbing my skin up against the roller, I'm pinning and twisting the flesh around my hip. And then I'm just going to pause there for a second, give the tissue a moment to adapt. I'm going to use my core, I'm going to come on back up, and we're just going to kind of swing ourselves over to the other side. Same thing, forearm's going to come on down. Yeah? So again, put your feet together if you can to start. Kind of feet flat on the floor if you can. Get your feet somewhat to the ground. And then same thing, just start to glide all over your pelvic bone, right? So I'm not on my waistline. I feel comfortable. I don't have a ton of weight in my arm. I'm exploring the whole hip. Again, if I lean into it, there's my trochanter. That's part of my femur, my thigh bone. Right? If I open up my body and I lean back, I'm going to get closer to my tailbone. And some of you guys are going to be like, I have a wad of goo living in my butt back there. I don't know what it is, but it's tender and it's lumpy and I don't like it, right? So if you find one of those spots, know where it is, don't land right on it, just get smaller, nuzzle up against it. If you want, put your feet back together again, and again, try to clam the leg in that organized way. Okay, second way, straighten out your leg. You can roll your body over the roller. And then the third way, you're going to go ahead and lean into it, and we're going to pin the skin, and again, twist the flesh around the hip bone. And then same thing, we're just going to pause there, compress and wait. Okay, and then come on and off the roller. All right, so a little bit of hydration to our pelvis. We're going to start on our lower body now. So you're going to lie side lying with me. Okay. So again, I'm going to get you guys as specific as I can to get the most out of the techniques. If you start perfectly side lying, you're not leaning forward at all, you are in a perfect arrow straight line. Take your roller out ahead of you and take the head side of your roller and move it away almost like you're going to make a T with your body, only now make it more like a V. Angle it a little above you. Set your roller down without falling forward. Take your top leg, walk it to the roller so that the side of your knee looks like it's making a plus sign between you and the roller. So the side of my knee is on the roller. I'm going to let my knee stay relatively soft, but I'm going to open the knee angle a little bit. Rest my head down. And all we're going to do is fall forward. And the roller should come up your inner thigh a little bit. Once it's there, keep your toes on the ground. Soften your knee. And as you start to move your hip and body back, I want you to feel like you're compressing to the curved side of the roller. So you're going to go top of the roller as you go forward. You're going to soften your knee and kind of try to push your thigh into the foot side of the roller. So you go top of the roller, foot side of the roller. And remember with the glide, it's a small local compression technique. So I want you to think you're going about a 1 or 2 inch area. It is not big. And what we're going to do is explore this tissue. Turn your toes down to the ground and start to glide. No, that's not a letter V at all, is it? Yeah, so that's okay. So this is the head, and there's your head, and it's like this.
Oh.
Yeah, and here we go. We're going this way, right? So now again, as you guys start to glide, turn your toes down to the ground a little bit and glide. And if you feel like your leg's going to spontaneously combust from the pain that you're creating in your body, know that the roller can't hurt you, but you can. If you just put your foot on the floor, you could physically lighten the weight of your leg by half, right? So find a spot you can tolerate the pressure on, meet the barrier, and then there's 3 ways to shear. You can keep your pressure constant and bend and straighten your knee. So there's that indirect shear, right? Kind of like when we were clamming our leg on our hip. You could also keep your knee a little soft, and you could lift and lower your foot from the ground, kind of rolling your thigh over the roller. So right, if the roller stays still and you lift and lower, so kind of like this. Or you set your toes to the ground, you pin the skin, and you use your hip and you sort of scratch the tissue up and down. So you go against the grain of the muscular fibers and in the fascial planes. And then same thing, we just kind of pause there, let your knee completely relax, let your thigh sort of sink into the roller, don't use any muscle. And then just grab the roller and pull it up a little bit higher. So maybe we come a little bit more toward the middle part of the thigh. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to fall forward, and then you're going to kind of push your body back. And so it's small. So you're actually kind of going forward more, back less. Yep, exactly. Forward more and back less. And feel free to move the roller around, adjust it where you need to, but really try to get the angle of the roller to go almost against the thigh. And remember, as you push back, it's like you're pushing into your side of the foot side of the roller, right? You could turn your toes down to the floor. Not a really great area there, I know, right? Meet your barrier. Remember, find a tolerable place, and then just gently bend and straighten your knee a few times. Really slow, right? So we don't want the muscle contraction to repel the compression we're creating. Again, you could keep your knees soft and kind of roll the leg in and out. Or you could set your toes to the ground, pin the skin, and kind of create a twisting action. Yeah, and that one's kind of tricky for some people. So watch this. If you keep your foot on the ground like this, and you go this way, yeah? So it's kind of a hip flexion motion. Yeah? And then same thing, you let all the muscles in your thigh completely relax, let your leg just sink in, don't move at all. So again, let that penetration go clear to the bone, and then flip around, let's try 2 spots on the other side. How you doing, Connie? It's good to see you. Yeah, flip around, right? So again, if you're perfectly side lying, and here's the trick of this one thing I would really encourage you guys, once you put your roller out ahead of you, and you walk your leg out, again, put the roller for real right on the side of your knee. Like be 100%, there's no roller between you and the roller, so bottom leg is straight, bottom leg straight, out ahead, get into a straight line. Yeah, and then top leg comes on, right? And again, if you get right to the side of your knee, and then you allow your body to fall forward, boom, there it is. That's all you need to go, and then you come back a little. So you go forward more, you go back a little. Forward more and back a little. So get really close to your knee, not on it, no, not on it, but just above it.
Oh, okay.
In that little spot there. So this is a congestion spot, an area where a lot of people have a lot of fascial restrictions. It causes a tracking issue in your knee. Now just for fun, again, try to turn your toes down to the floor and glide there. Yeah, so you're kind of getting just above your kneecap if you can. Find a spot you want to work on, maintain your pressure, and start the shear. Bend and straighten your knee. So if the roller stays still, and you either move a joint on the other side of the roller that your body's at, or you keep your knee soft and you roll your body part in the direction of the roller, so we can do that rolling action if you want. So that's the knee stays soft, and you kind of go over the roller. Or you set your toes down, pin the skin, and you create kind of a scratching action. All 3 are going to give you that hydration exchange. And then same thing, you just kind of pause there, you don't move. Yeah, completely relax the muscles. And then grab your roller and just nudge it up like an inch. Don't go crazy on how high you go today. Just try to get a little more specific. Exactly right. So again, if you're doing the glide again, so maybe we bring it up a touch, yeah. And so now again, we're going to fall forward. There goes the roller up the leg. And then we go back just a little. So we go forward and back. Now remember, if the sensitivity is really intense, if you put your foot on the floor, you could actually lighten the weight of your leg, right? I could almost take all of my leg weight away if I wanted to. So you're in control of the pressure you're causing. Again, if you can turn your toes down to the floor and try to get on the front of your thigh and glide in that position, not so awesome. Those are some of the areas where we've got a lot of restriction. Again, meet a tolerable place where you feel like you could relax your thigh muscles and start to bend and straighten your knee, right? So again, shearing, you either contract muscles against an interface like you're doing here. You could also keep your knee soft and you could roll your thigh over the roller. Or you could set your toes down to the ground, you could pin the skin, and you could create that scratching action. It really just depends upon which one you want to do. Beautiful. And then same thing, just wait there for a second. Give the tissue a moment to adapt. Awesome. Okay, and then just take your time and sit on up. So we're going to bounce to the upper body. We're going to come back to the lower body toward the end. We're just going to do a little bit on the upper body too today. Going to give you guys like a whole body hydration. You feel all right so far? It's been a while. Okay, so let's walk toward the front of our mat so that our feet are almost off the mat. Better if you start far away, and then you can work your way back. Okay, so we're going to bring the roller down onto our back. I'm going to pass on doing rib length. Instead, I'm just going to bring my hands behind my head. Really important thing here, knees are bent. You're not pulling your head into your chest. Okay, so just think about your head resting back, keep your chin open, elbows point to the sky. You're going to lift up your hips, and you're going to move your hips towards your heels and try to get the roller towards your upper back. And once you're here, you're going to do the same thing you just did gliding. You're just going to roll your body forward and back. And when you first start, you might notice that your back is relatively flat. And if you're doing a good job with your gliding, you might even need to walk your feet back a little bit once you get going. But then once you have your glide going, could you let your butt cheeks just sink a little bit so that you feel more like you're compressing more to the curved side of the roller, just by a little bit, so that your spine actually has its natural curve. And then again, if you find a spot you can tolerate pressure on your spine, pause on that one bone, set your tucked pelvis down, so kind of curl your pubic bone to your nose, curl your torso forward without pulling on your head, and then really small here. You're going to create tiny tipping actions right and left. And all I want you to do is really think, the one vertebra I'm on is staying still, and I'm kind of pinching the sides closed above it. I'm just tipping my body like a rainbow, right and then left. And then I'm going to come on back to a center point. I'm going to pause. I'm going to plant my feet again, right, nice and firm. I'm going to lift my butt cheeks, this time only about an inch off the ground. I'm going to push into my feet, and I'm going to move that roller down, again, maybe below my shoulder blades, just by a little bit. Walk my feet back again, and then I'm going to try to glide more into my mid-back. Now, if you're in a good spot, if I asked you to just lean a little over to your left side, you're going to get a little off your spine and onto the left shoulder blade. And I want you to really think, as I glide against my shoulder blade, does it feel tender? And some of you guys might find that it's not so great over there either. It's kind of like your inner thigh. And then come on back to the center. Again, you might need to walk your feet back a little bit. And then you're going to lean just a little bit over to the other side and just glide against the other shoulder blade. And then again, you're going to come on back to the center. You're going to get smaller and smaller. You're going to stop on one of those vertebrae. Again, you're going to set your tucked pelvis back down. You're going to curl your ribs forward. Don't pull on your neck. Keep that one vertebra attached to the roller. And again, side bend, right and left. So we're just going to create a little bit of hydration in the back so that we can add this to some upper body length techniques today. Yeah? And then same thing. We're just going to try to pause here, wait for a minute. So the rinsing, ideally you've already moved back a little bit, but let's try a rinse. So you're going to keep your feet planted where you have it, lift up your hips, try to bring your knees on top of your ankles so that the roller comes back towards your upper back. Once you get the roller up here, a rinse is one direction. Take a breath in. On an exhale, let your butt start to sink toward the ground. Push into your feet and think about your back staying curved so that you're pushing to your side of the roller down your back. And your legs almost go straight, I think. And then watch me here, watch me here. I'm going to reset my feet, watch. I'm going to lift my hips up. I'm going to take a breath in and watch how I do this. My hips sink and watch where my body goes. I curl into the roller, right? So what I don't want to do is curve back, right? So I'm not arching. That would actually cause trouble. Try to curve your body and push into your side of the roller. And then reset your feet and just try that 3 times on your own. So you lift, again, you sink and you roll. Yeah, try 2 more. Lift, sink, and roll. Let me see what you guys got today. Yeah, pretty good. One of the toughest ones to do is a rinse. Awesome. You guys feel okay with that? All right, so take your roller, sit on up. So all we did was we just compressed a little bit of our hips. We did a little inner thigh. We did a little bit on our upper back. And now we're going to go into a rebalance here with some lengthening techniques. So what I want you to do is put your butt toward the absolute end of your roller. Make sure it's way down here. Start to roll yourself up and just fall on back onto your roller on your spine. All right. Now once you get where you think you're supposed to be, touch the top of your head. Make sure that your head and your body all land on top of the roller, right? So your head's on the roller, pelvis on the roller, all along the spine. I want your feet hip width apart, palms down on the ground. First melt move you're going to do is called gentle rocking. I just want you to start to tip your masses to your right arm, kind of let your right forearm kind of drop to the ground, catch yourself. Push yourself over to the left side, let your left forearm catch yourself. And then just start to rock left to right. If I tied a string from your nose to your sternum, to your belly button, to your pubic bone, all of the masses get to stay in a line, and you're just allowing your spine to gently kind of rock a little left to right over the roller. Okay? If you want, close your eyes and do it. It heightens body sense, which is what our principle here is, a reconnect technique, trying to help your autopilot reconnect to your center of gravity. You're just gently challenging your balance on an unstable surface, simple, easy movement. Same kind of principle that we did on the foot. You do these types of techniques about 10, 15 seconds and you move on. You want to kind of get in and get out on them. Come on back to a center point. Place your hands onto the front of your pelvis. I like doing it like a pizza pie. I put my thumbs together, my index finger together. I put my index fingers on my pubic bone, heels of my hands kind of over my hip bones. I want you to do tucking and tilting. A simple move, you're going to tuck your pelvis. You're going to try to curl your pubic bone towards your nose. Hang out there for a second. Notice if you are pushing into your feet, squeezing your butt cheeks, or lifting your hips to keep your pelvis in a tuck. If you're doing any of those things, cut it out. Don't do it that way. Keep your feet light and try to acquire and maintain the tuck from your core. And then notice where your ribs are. And now untuck your pelvis, push your pubic bone between the legs so that your sacrum lands back to the top of the roller. Low back curve is going to increase a little bit. Notice if your ribs came with you, okay? Let's just try it again. So you're going to tuck your pelvis without pushing into your feet. So you shouldn't feel your belly paunch up into your hands as you tuck. And then as you untuck and move to the tilt, you want to feel how the ribs stay quiet. So now if you feel like your ribs come with you, you can always put your hands on your rib cage, kind of pay attention to where you want to stay still, and you go back and forth a few times, tucking and tilting. Let's walk these feet this way. Yeah, tucking the pelvis a little bit. Yeah, and then tilting. Gorgeous. Tucking. Yep, and tilting. So keep going through that movement, and if you want, tie your breath to it. When you exhale, tuck, take a sip of air, and when you exhale, tilt. And ideally what you're starting to notice is that the move is relatively small. It's all the onset of the movement. We're just trying to help your nervous system regain some connection to that subtle undulation of the pelvis. Most of us lose it as we get older. We can only just do it by pushing or arching our back. So we want to see if we can acquire that subtle differentiated motion. Perfect. So remember those two positions because we're going to use them in the last sequence that we're going to do. So just remember tucking, pubic bone curls toward the nose. Sometimes I call that a sad dog pose. Tilting, your pubic bone moves away from your belly button. The back of your pelvis gets heavy. I call that the Playboy bunny pose, like your butt's looking more lifted in your jeans. And then find somewhere in the middle of the two positions. That's your home base. Keep your pelvis there. Third technique, 3D breath breakdown. One hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. All you're going to do for the next 90 seconds is focus on breathing in. So I want you to breathe in to your body, into the top and bottom hand as much as your back body, and then let your breath release. Yep. So now notice when you inhale into the direction, you're breathing from a midline up to both hands and into the back body equally, expanding the body in two directions. Pay attention to what you feel. See if you can slow down the breath enough to feel the breath enter both the top and bottom hand equally. Right? They don't need to be the biggest breaths you can take. You're just slowing down your natural breath. Okay? On your next breath at your own pace, same idea. You're going to put your hands onto the sides of your ribs. I like putting the fingertips on the front of my ribs, heels of the hands on the side. Same idea, only this time, try to breathe from a midline out to the sides of your body, breathing with into your torso. See if you can actually feel in your hands as much as in the inside of your body. As you breathe in, try it again. Inhaling, you're breathing with into the torso. And as you exhale, the body kind of closes back to the midline. Right? One more time. I kind of like thinking from my spine out to my hands sometimes instead of the chest to the sides of my hands. Sometimes that helps me. And then I exhale. Okay? Third direction. Next breath on your own pace. You're going to put one hand over your collarbones or over the front of your throat. One hand all the way down into your pubic bone or the front of the pelvis. This time I want you to try to take a breath that goes due south, all the way to the between your legs, all the way to the top of your collarbones. Length through the torso. And then again, allowing the body to relax. Yeah. Again, nice, slow, long, soupy breath. Notice if your body is shifting, listing, or tipping on the roller. Don't stop it from happening. It's part of the rebalancing. You're altering the oscillation of the diaphragm. That's altering that neurocore efficiency. Yeah. So nice, long breaths in and out. Okay, good job. So 9 breaths in 3 directions on an inhale. Now we're going to focus on exhalation. Put both hands on your belly. This is called the 3D breath. First breath you do, just try to take a nice 6-sided breath. Just allow your breath to enter all regions of your body and let your natural breath come out one time. And what we're going to do 3 times is force exhalation, and we're going to see if we can activate the core reflex. So on your next 6-sided inhale, on your exhale, make a firm SH sound. Shh. And keep that SH going until there is literally no breath left in your body to exhale. And hold that exhale and see if you can feel that cylindrical contraction in your torso. Then inhale, try to expand your body again. This time make a deflating tire sound like a S. So it's a little sharper of an S. Sometimes that gives us more of that sense of that inward gathering. It's like you're hugging your organs from all 6 sides, again, until there's no breath left. And when there's no breath left, you hold that tightening. And then you take another breath in, and there's a third sound, HA. Again, feeling for that engagement around the spine, around your torso. Okay? Whichever sound kind of draws your attention to that inward gathering, do that a couple more times on your own. SH, SE, HA. You could try all 3 again if you wanted to, if you're new to it. Again, all we're doing is by forcing an exhalation, we're activating something called the core reflex, tightening up the deep abdomen. Okay, so now if you feel like you can find that contraction, this time when you inhale, don't force any sound out. Just take your natural breath in, natural breath out. But on your exhale, consciously connect to it. Feel and follow the contraction. See if you can actually feel yourself control the engagement of the deep abdomen. And then when you inhale, try to let it all go. Let your natural exhale initiate the breath, feel and follow. That's called finding your core, and we're going to use that in that last sequence. But a couple more techniques here. Bring your arms straight up into the air. I want you to imagine you're holding a present. You're holding a box, and instead of holding a box over your shoulders, feel like you're holding it more over your hip bones. So it's kind of, your arms are angled forward a little bit. And from your back body, try to allow your shoulder girdle to flare up and away from the spine, and then allow the shoulder girdle to sink and wrap back around the rib wall. So you're just allowing the shoulder girdle to move the arms up and down, and up, and down, right? And kind of notice if one shoulder blade feels like it kind of moves better than the other. You feel like you're shrugging or any clicking or popping's going on there. And then allow the shoulder girdle to remain heavy. I want you to take your elbows, bend your elbows and put your fingertips on your shoulder blades, or I'm sorry, on the front of your shoulders. And we're gonna make a short arm circle. I want you to just create an arm circle with your elbow bent. And think of your elbows drawing a circle that goes over the ceiling and then kind of circles around the side of the room. So notice that the arms don't really go overhead. The shoulder kind of stops in that range of motion. And today, let's even reverse the pattern. Let's go down and out. And what's nice about having your elbows bent is you really get the movement in the girdle rather than thinking of all the restrictions that we have along the neck. So just nice, easy motion there. And then bring your arms back up into the air. And we're going to take a double arm reach from this position. So again, hands look like they're over your hip bones. Let your shoulder girdle float away from the spine. And then let your shoulder girdle sink back along the side of the roller. And then like you were holding a resistance band, I want you to go ahead and open the arms out, letting the elbows be soft. And I want you to stop before your hands look like they're at the height of your torso. Keep them a little above your torso line. And then imagine you have a big beach ball on your belly, and I want you to try to reach your fingertips on this gigantic beach ball so that you're thinking of a nice arced arm, and I want you to see if you can find the fascial pull down the arm lines. It'll feel a little fuzzy down here. If you have it, spread out your palms, let the right wrist extend, let the left wrist flex, and like you're tossing a ball from hand to hand, left wrist flexes, right wrist extends, and just go back and forth, back and forth. So if we keep the arms out wide and we really reach, can you feel the difference? Yeah, so you really want to kind of find that tensional pull. Yeah, as much into the arms as we can, keeping the arms here, yeah, and then just moving the wrists.
Oh, cool, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Opposition, opposition, both arms, reach it, reach it, reach it. Yep, make a fist into it. And again, really almost imagine like Spider-Man, but the spider webs are coming out of your knuckles. And so you're really reaching. Yeah, and then open the palms back up, take a breath in. On your exhale, turn the palms down to the floor and let the hands angle down closer towards your hips. So it's like a wide letter A. Place your hands down to the floor. Spread your hands out as long as you can. Let your nose stay tipped up to the sky a little bit. Let's try a neck turn reach. Keep your left hand planted to the ground. Take a breath in, and on an exhale, slightly tip your head just a little to the right, a slight turn of your head. And then once you're there, think about energizing your fingers away from your jaw. So really try to find that tensional pull down the arms. Now slowly take your breath in. Exhale, find your core again. Notice if you squeeze your abdomen, you feel more of the tension in your arm. And then take another breath in, bring your head back to center. Subtly turn your head to the left. Energize your right fingers away from your jawline. And again, take a breath in. Notice that that intensifies the tensional pull. Exhale. So again, your head is slightly turned, but you're energizing that arm, getting that fascial pull all the way down the arm lines. And then bring your head back to center. Okay, straighten out either of your legs. I don't care which one. But I want you to really slowly slide your body off that side of the roller. Let your pelvis slide off, then your ribs, then your head. Push the roller out from underneath you. Lie flat on your back, palms up, arms and legs extended. Okay, so let's reassess here. We'll just take a quick check-in before this last piece of our map. So notice your masses and spaces. When we started off, I said, hey, tune into what you're feeling in your upper body. And notice if you were feeling offset from left to right. Notice if now your head or your arms or your torso feels more relaxed to the ground. Notice if, turn your head left and right. Notice if we've changed anything in that head turn. Any changes in the head turn? Okay, because we haven't done anything for that yet. We will though. What about the mid-ribs? Anybody feel like their ribs are more relaxed to the ground? Anybody get the butt cheeks or the back of thighs to settle down a little bit? Okay, so good. And then what about from left to right, ear to heel? Do you feel any more balance from left to right than when you started? That's the one that we want to kind of catch on that sequence. Okay, so now we're going to kind of focus a little on the lower body, and we're going to end with a neck release. So all I'm going to have you do is take your roller. What I like to do is bend my knees. I grab the roller onto the sides with my hands, and I make like a swing set out of it. So I kind of bend the roller, and then I drop my legs down. Beautiful. And I actually keep my hands on that roller. Nope, so I'm on the back of my pelvis. I'm not under my hips. Nope, I bent my knees. I shoved it up onto my butt. I put the roller there, and I just dropped my legs down. Yeah. So we're going to do some back thigh shearing, and you can just keep your feet just a bare inch off the ground and open and close the legs with both legs. And then the way that I like to do back thigh shearing is as my legs swing out to the side, I'm going to let my left knee bend, and I'm going to put my left foot on the floor, and I'm just going to work on my right leg, and I'm going to really try when I bring my leg to the midline to turn my toes inward as I go in and turn my toes a little outward before I go out. So that what I'm doing is pinning the skin between the roller and my thigh and creating that nice twisting action. I'm going to do about 8 of those. And then I'm going to go ahead and let that leg relax down onto the floor, just sort of put my right foot to the ground, straighten out my left leg. And same thing I'm going to repeat on the left side, pinning the skin and twisting. So the skill of a shear is what really makes the effect. So on the back of the leg, if you can, when you're at home, I do this in, underwear. I don't have anything on my legs. I put my skin on that roller and really try to pin and pry and open that tissue up to get that blood flow through the inner thigh. That's part of my neural core. Now, if you have trouble with the pin of the skin, if you just drop your legs down and you just roll your legs a little in and out, that'll pin the skin, right? Because you're not pinning or prying, so it's a rolling action. You can do it that way. Pause there for a second. And then take your hands away from the roller and just push the roller more onto your middle thigh. And same thing, I would let my left knee kind of just bend and just let it drape over the roller now. And again, do your twisting. So pinning the skin and rolling the leg in and out. Yeah, and you could do it with one leg or both, but the difference of, and just so you get an impression of this, take the leg that you're working on and straighten out your knee and squeeze your muscles as hard as you can, and then try to twist your flesh over the thigh bone. And just notice how that's all superficial, right? You're only getting skin deep there. But if you now relax the muscles in your leg, and then twist, you should feel like it actually grabs and crimps all the way to the bone. You are literally trying to get those bone receptors to activate. If you're working on one leg, swap sides, do it on the other if you haven't already. And again, you could work on one leg at a time. Just notice the difference between straightening out your legs, locking out your knees, and trying to pin the skin, and then letting your knees go soft, let the leg muscles completely relax, and get deep to the tissue, right? So a shear can actually alter bone reception. Same thing, just go ahead and let the legs relax there for a second. Okay, so just a little bit of hydration to the back of the leg. We're going to bend our knees, put our feet flat to the floor. Use your core, lift up your hips, move the roller to the back of your pelvis now. Okay, so an important concept here with the roller on the back of the pelvis, it's not on your low back. So a good way to know you have the roller in the right place, if you put your hands on the top of your hips, You're not going to find the roller is there. It's going to be a little bit lower. But if you bring your knees into your chest, the roller is also not so low that it feels like it's going to fly out from underneath you. You feel comfortable, okay? So now move your knees a little bit away from your chest so that your knees are still angled to your side. If you want, you can either drape your hands over the roller so that your hands are kind of tucked near your hips. Tip your knees a little to the left and a little to the right. That's your sacroiliac joints that you're going over on both sides of your sacrum, where your sacrum meets your pelvis. Again, lots of restriction here. So if we can hydrate it, it stabilizes the joint. So if you tip your knees maybe to the left side and keep your right leg still and just try to circle your left leg today. Let's just make maybe 4 circles. Noticing for any clicking, cracking, snapping, popping, thunking, crunching. Make the movement smaller and slower if you need to. Bring your knees back together. You could also march your knees slowly forward and back. And then just pause there for a second. Let's tip our knees over to the other side. Just a little bit. Don't go too far because, again, you want to stay on the back of the pelvis. And then circle your leg. So what I like to do is kind of tuck my hands under my hips because it definitely keeps me from going too far. And I don't want to miss the opportunity to maintain the pressure on my sacrum. And then again, I can bring my knees together and I can really slowly just march my knees forward and back. And then same thing, I'm just going to pause there for a second, give the tissue a moment to adapt. And then we're going to bring the legs back to center. Let's take your left foot, lower it down to the ground, find the ball of your big toe, the outside of your foot, and your heel. And just set that foot all the way down to the ground. Now I want you to really find a nice firm footing on that side. Here comes our tuck and tilt. We're going to tuck the pelvis. So I want you to curl your pubic bone towards your nose and see if just by tucking the pelvis without grabbing onto the right thigh, you feel tension on the front of your left thigh. You want to feel it with your tuck, okay? Interlace your hands either over the front of your right shin or behind the back of your leg. It's up to you. But the only reason that we're drawing our right knee in towards our body is to accentuate that tuck. And now again, 2-directional length. I want you to think about energizing your left knee over your toes as your pubic bone curls towards your nose. So think of the fascial pull occurring from the knee to the pubic bone, and the more you tuck, the deeper it's going to get. And then inhale, ease back some of your intention to push-pull. And then do it again. Tuck your pelvis, pull your pubic bone towards your nose, energize your left knee over your toes. And then let that go. So bring that left knee up into your body. Let that right foot come on down to the ground. Same thing. Find the ball of your big toe. Find the outside of your foot. And then slowly let your heel come down. Really find the imprint of your whole foot, right? There's no one part. It's 100% the whole foot. You got to tuck your pelvis. Again, see if just by tucking you feel the pull. Then use your leg to accentuate it. So again, I'm going to really think pubic bone curls towards my nose, but now again, I'm energizing my right knee over my toes. That's where the fascial pull is going to come from. You really have to think about 2 directions. Then inhale, ease back some of your pressure, and do it again. Push, pull. Beautiful. Keep your right foot exactly where it is. Take your hands away from your left leg. Kick your left leg out low and long. Let it go parallel to the floor. Now, once you're here, it's kind of the opposite. I want your right foot now to feel light on the floor. Flex your left foot and really slowly start to bring your left leg up. And I want you to stop before your leg gets to perpendicular to the roller or you feel like your knee wants to bend. You find the angle, you can do it. Once you've got that leg relatively perpendicular, again, 2 directions. You're going to flex the foot. And I want you to think about now tilting the back of your pelvis on the top of the roller. That's not an invitation for your ribs to go to the sky. Keep your ribs out of it. Sit bones are wide, right foot's light, pelvis is heavy, heels going in the opposite direction. Inhale, 1 more. Exhale again, flex your foot, tilt the pelvis. Try to find a cohesive pull from your heel all the way to the back of your hip. And then let that go. Yeah, if you do it right, you kind of get this blood flow exchange behind your knee. Let's try it on the other side. So again, kick your right leg out parallel to the floor. So go low and long first. Think about it. The full back of your pelvis heavy on the roller, left foot's light on the floor, flex your right foot,
And then really slowly bring your leg up. Again, don't let that knee bend. Stop before your knee wants to bend. But now again, consciously, 2 directions. I'm flexing my foot to send my heel to the sky. I'm tilting the back of my pelvis to get the hip bone to go in the opposite direction of my leg bone. Right? Full cohesive pull, hip to heel. I want to feel it all the way down my leg. I'm going to inhale. I'm going to ease back some of that intention to find tension. And then again, I'm going to exhale. I'm going to flex my foot. I'm going to tilt my pelvis all the way onto the top of the roller. And then I'm going to go ahead and let that go. How'd that go for you? So keep your feet on the ground. Let me see you guys tuck your pelvis. And then let me see you tilt your pelvis. Yeah, tuck your pelvis. Pubic bone curls towards the nose. Tilt the pelvis. One more time. Tuck the pelvis. Yeah. That's exactly what you want to be on. Yeah, no doubt. Tuck the pelvis. And then tilt the pelvis. Okay, so lift up your hips. Get the roller out from underneath your pelvis. You can keep your knees bent, but now I want you to finish today by putting the roller right behind the base of your skull. So take that roller on out, right behind the base of your skull. Where is the base of your skull? It is not on your neck, right? So I don't want to feel like my neck space is on the roller. I want to feel like my head is on the roller. So it's just a nudge up. Good way to know you have the roller in the right place to do this is if you just kind of tip your nose up to the sky like you're smelling something good in the air, just by a little, don't get crazy over that. And you start to turn your head left to right. If the roller feels like it slips into your neck, you just started with the roller a little bit too low and you just bump it up a little bit. If it feels like it's going to slip out from under your head, you're dropping your chin. So kind of gain a sense of what you feel. Yeah? So let's go on to the left side of your skull. So let your left arm drop out to the left side of your body. Let your left knee kind of drop and clam that left knee open. And on the side of your skull, I call this my halfback pose, I want you to, again, pin the skin and try to subtly turn your head so slowly left to right that what I don't want you to feel is that you're rubbing your skin up against the roller. I want you to feel like you're pinning the skin against the roller surface and you're trying to twist and move it into little twisting actions. Small, small, small. Yeah? You could also try small circles. You could try head nods, long as it's small and controlled. And then same thing, you're just going to pause. Anytime you do a shear effect, you stimulate those cells, you don't move. You let your head sink. You let any body part sink to the roller. And then swap sides. Let your head tip over to the other side, drop your other arm out. Again, get right to the base of your skull. Same thing. It's either small circles. I like kind of pinning my skin and turning my head. I kind of feel like when I turn toward the roller, it's like a Shar-Pei dog. I kind of get all crimpy in my skin. And I turn my head away, and it's like getting a facelift. So it's like a little dragging of the tissue. Same thing. It could be circles, could be head turns. Awesome. And then same thing. Just wait there for a second. Give the tissue a moment to adapt. Nice breath in and out. Okay, so now come back into that flat back pose with your knees bent. Again, rollers at the center of the base of the skull. Now, if you can, roller's going to stay in the same spot, only instead of turning your head left to right, think almost like a backstroke. It's like your ear is going to kind of follow and kind of create little infinity signs. So it's like a little right ear rolls back, left ear rolls back, right ear, left ear, like a figure 8 rolled on its side. Again, if the roller slips into your neck too far down, goes up too far up, find that sweet spot. Pause and wait. Last bit is a decompression. You're going to grab onto your roller. You're going to push the roller a little bit more to the center of the back of the head. Just nudge it up maybe like an inch. Don't go too far. But again, if you start with your chin expressed up, and then you set the roller, you're already in the extended position. So you're kind of halfway there, okay? So now for a decompression, it's subtle, but think about compressing the center of the back of your head consciously and actively onto the top of the roller, not going crazy with that, just maintain your pressure. Take a breath in. On an exhale, really small here, start to nod your nose down, but don't lose the space in the front of the throat. Instead, think about the back of your ears moving away from the back of your shoulders. Keep your pressure constant on the roller. Take a breath in. And on an exhale, let your chin start to float up and away so that, again, you open the throat a little bit. Pressure still constant on the roller. 2 more times. Take a breath in. On an exhale, nod your nose down. And then take another breath in. And lift your chin back up. And one more time. Take a breath in, nod your nose down. And then one more time, take a breath in and lift your chin back up.
All right, get rid of the roller, lie flat on your back, let's reassess. So our goal in MELT is to create fluid perfusion, move the fluid flow through fascia, because when fascia has a cohesive flow, your nervous system is going to function more efficiently. It'll just help you with natural balance. So if you scan your masses and spaces, remember, started off with these 4 common imbalances. I said if all your back weight's on your shoulder blade, you got a huge arch in your mid-back, your tailbone's on the ground, or the back of your thighs are off the floor, that's neurological core inefficiency. Your pelvis isn't going to be as stable when you have that tension along the spine. So if you're feeling like your ribs are more relaxed, you feel like the arch of your back is less tense, your butt cheeks are more to the ground, or the back of thighs have settled to the floor, you've regained neural core efficiency. Your body's got a good channel, an open channel. That should reset your autopilot. If you divide yourself into a left and a right half, ideally you feel more balance from left to right. If you turn your head left and right, maybe you may have freed up some range, decreased pain, maybe the shoulders stay more still. How do you guys feel with changes? You guys make some changes on that one? I love it. Oh my God, it was so fun to teach a class. That was a real class. Yeah, you guys did awesome. Really well done.